Okay, all right. So I believe we are live, and we're about 1 minute late. Just trying to fix some back-end stuff. I think technology always has its ways of trying to make things interesting for us, right? Okay, so anyway, guys,
Yes,
thank you so much
definitely.
for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Farhan, head of marketing in Noble Sky International. It's Friday night. It's really great having to be here. I'm really excited because it's already September, right? So it's already September, and for those who are
How did this
actually,
happen?
yeah. Well, those who are you like to count the days, and you realize that, oh no, the end of the year is coming soon, and you start to think about all of the New Year resolutions you had done like 9 months ago, and whether how close or how far away you are. And sometimes somehow I just feel the pressure is starting to come on. Yeah. So
Hmm.
anyway, it's it's
Hmm.
a it's a it's a beautiful Friday here in Singapore. The weather was really good today. We had rain. It was cooling, and I had my sister bring her children down just now to my place, and we had a nice swim and all that. That was really fun. How was your day, Veronica?
My day was busy, and I did manage to persuade my teenager to actually go for a swim as well. So that was pretty good.
Oh, nice. Where do you go to swim in
Wait
Bali?
until your kids become teenager. Just next door, we in the complex where we live. There's actually a pool. So
Wow, that's nice. So you don't have to travel far
yeah,
at all.
yeah. Well, it's
Okay.
not a big swim either. It's not exactly a long pool. It's more like a splash pool, to get wet up to here.
Weddling pool.
Yeah, kind
Okay,
of. Yeah,
sounds like you had a great
yeah.
day,
It was
Veronica.
good. Yeah.
All right, so it's really nice. And I think tonight I'm excited because we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, which I think a lot of people, people who know us hear about what we've been telling them about investing in properties, and specifically in our case, it's US real estate. A lot of
Hmm.
times people are really asking, like, yeah, what's the big deal with the US? Like, why does it really work for me? Is it something that, I'm not living in the US? Does it even make sense for me?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yes,
tonight we're
absolutely.
going to be answering a few of these questions, and
Hmm.
yeah, really excited. So just going to introduce myself again. I'm the head of marketing in Noble Sky International. So what we really do is we help people get invested in the US in US real estate, and we help them with we have all solutions that we really offer to help people, especially around Asia, to get invested in the US. And Veronica tonight is going to be sharing with us a few great pointers why the US actually makes a lot of sense for a lot of us. Right. So
Yes.
Veronica, yeah, over on to you.
Why? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Fahan. So, my name is Veronique Ficheux, and if you cannot spell it, it's okay. I am from France, and I came from France to Asia 27 years ago. So, I've had a fair amount of experience because I was a fund manager in Asia Pacific rather than in the US or even Europe for that matter. And at the same time, when I started helping Noble Sky with their training, I was very curious about why investing in the US made sense. And it took
Mhm.
me a while to actually see all the little details and why it was making sense. But I'm really happy to be sharing that with you because I can really see the opportunities for people to really be successful as an investor in the US. So let me
Yeah.
see if I
Right.
can share. Oh, wow, it's
Okay.
working.
Good.
We were trying to make it work earlier. That's why we were a bit late.
Yeah, right. So
So,
again, just while Veronica's just setting this up, I really have to agree with Veronica because before I got into Noble Sky, working for Noble Sky, I when I first heard about investing in the US, I was thinking like, nah, this is just not for me. But when I really got down into it, the details of it, and why or how really a lot of people have been making a lot of money in US real estate, to be specific, um, and I saw how the model works. I think, yeah, just makes a lot of sense. So anytime you're ready, Veronique.
I think we are. This is as ready
All
as
right.
we'll get with the technology. I actually had to get the teenager to come help
Okay, nice. That's what
earlier.
he's here
All
for.
right. This is the advantage of having a teenager. All right. So we're going straight into the topic anyway. And
All right, let's go.
here's what we're starting with. 3 reasons why we choose US real estate. The thing that surprised me the most, having come from first cities, like I lived in Hong Kong for a while, I've been in Bali for 5 years, I lived in Singapore, and before that, I actually lived in Paris. So
Ah.
the price of property was very, very different from what we are looking at in the US. Of course, there's a large disparity between buying inside of Los Angeles or New York and really buying in the suburbs, right? But when I looked
Mhm.
up the numbers the first time, I realized that the average property transaction in the US is under $250,000.
Wow. Under $250,000, and that
I
is we are
know.
talking about buying a property, right?
Yeah, yeah, a whole one, not just the bathroom. That was
Okay,
also my
nice.
thought. There was like, are we buying a room?
That's what probably is going to cost in Singapore to get that size of a room. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
coming from Hong Kong, for me, it was a very similar thing. It was a bit of a culture shock, really, for me when I started with that coming from Hong Kong, because I thought, wow, this is really expensive. So when I arrived in Hong Kong, one of my first thought was, okay, I'm renting a place. It's really nice, but I would really like to buy an investment property. And
Mhm.
I kind of translated the numbers roughly, and that was a while ago as well, which were in US dollars. And I could purchase something that was rentable for about $1
Mhm.
million. And it would have been okay,
Wow.
right? It wouldn't have been a luxury property on the peak, but it would have been an okay property, for instance, in Discovery Bay, which is the area where I live, which is was or still is about half an hour away from Central on a ferry. So there's you know there's challenges with that, right? And then I
Mhm.
realized, okay, I could pay $1 million, but hold on, the bank will only give me a mortgage for 7%. So that meant first
7%.
70%. Sorry. So
So,
that meant first I had to find $300,000 in cash.
mhm.
Hmm.
That's
Okay,
yeah.
that's a nice amount, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Expensive.
that's a bit of money, yes. And that was just some of the rules that they had at the time. I think they're a little bit different these days, but because I wasn't in Hong Kong for a long time, when I looked at this, I had to put in 30%. So okay,
Right.
fine. And then when I looked at the mortgage, my monthly repayment would have been a minimum of 3,900 US dollars, maybe even 4,003, 4,004, depending on the rate the bank was ready to give me.
Mhm.
Right. And of course, as I said, I was kind of new in Hong Kong, so the bank did not really know where I came from. So they were not going to give me the cheapest one either, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Right.
get it.
And my idea was, okay, well, I'm going to build an investment, and as I build the investment, I will be able to rent it out, and this will cover. That's kind of what you would expect in having an investment property.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
lo and
pretty quite common. Yeah,
yes,
quite
what
typical,
were you
right?
saying? Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying that that's similar to how it probably people think about buying an investment property in Singapore. I think it's very similar. People want to buy and then they want to rent it out, right? Hoping to get
Yes,
some kind of
yes, of
cash
course.
flow. Yeah.
I think the idea of buying for investment for rental in particular is that we all think that the tenant is going to pay the mortgage,
Hmm.
right? And that was not the case. When I made the calculation, I would have had to find at least an extra 500 US dollars at the end of each month to actually pay the mortgage. And that was before anything else. That was before paying, whatever property tax that I would owe as an owner, whatever repairs, all of
Yeah,
that.
right,
That
right.
was not even included. And of course, I still had to pay tax.
Yes, of course. All the unseen expenses, right? Things that go
Yes.
into the property that most of us don't even think about, thinking that, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's all good.
Exactly. So it didn't make a lot of sense for me because I read a long, long time ago about assets and liability. And to make it really simple, I think you remember this: an asset puts money in your pocket, a
Hmm.
liability takes money out of your pocket.
Yeah, I remember that lesson.
So, so this apartment, this property would actually take money out of my pocket every month.
Hmm. I
And
get it.
in 20 years or in 30 years, yes, then I would have a property and I would have something that would be an asset. But in the meantime, for quite a while,
Okay.
there wouldn't be one.
Yeah, and I guess this is it boils down to uh, the affordability, right? The cost involved in getting into this investment property, and looking at it, it's very similar to how it works in Singapore. In
Yeah.
fact, in Singapore, for a second property, if you want to buy it for investment, you probably can only get a maximum of 60% in
Oh,
terms of
wow. Mm.
mortgage, and on top of that you'll be charged an additional buyer's stamp duties, and there's a lot of other associated costs which goes into easily into the six figures just
Wow.
for just for the stamp duties and taxes. Yeah,
Yes.
so if you were to take those amounts into account in terms of your rental, or not rental, your investment returns, I think it's way off the charts if you're gonna actually, if you think it's as simple as just acquisition and then taking an ROI from there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually a lot of other costs involved. Yeah, so how does
Yeah.
that differ? Are you gonna show us how it's gonna be, how it differs from the US?
No, well, yes, kind of. I'm going to show you this
All right, nice.
chart. Right.
Looks interesting.
And
Yes.
this one is a little bit different because it kind of relies on us um, buying a new property in somewhere like in Hong Kong or in Singapore, right? This is something that is very standard as well. I find that in those countries, we tend to buy new properties rather than secondhand or, like something that we buy directly from the developer because that's
Yeah.
usually where we can get a discount,
Yes.
right?
Not
So in
much.
this specific example, you would have to put in a cash portion. In this case, we used 20%. In mine, it was 30%. You have to apply for the bank loan, and hopefully the bank
Hmm.
will like you and actually give you one. And then you could potentially realize some money if you got a discount and maybe the price of the property went up.
Yes.
In the
Appreciation.
US, because we have a very an approach to something that is a much cheaper asset, and the second thing that we always do is we never buy full price, because in the US it is actually possible to buy very cheaply if you know where to go.
Hmm. Tell
So
us more.
not only is the average transaction much lower, but there's also a lot more opportunities for us to pick up cheap properties.
Mhm. Can you explain to us a little bit, Veronica, about the US side of things? I think because for the local one, it's quite understandable because it just makes sense, right? 10% discounts maybe, and then 70% mortgage. But I don't see a mortgage portion in the US side of the graph. How does that work?
In terms, a US portion in terms of what? I'm sorry, just
Okay, so yeah,
clarify for a minute.
okay, because I can see the two graph between the local graph and then there's the US graph, right? So in the US graph, I don't see a bank loan amount.
Yes. So this is what I was referring to. Because we have a mechanism to get a property for much cheaper, we can
Mhm.
actually acquire a property at a portion of the actual price of it or the actual market value. sometimes it's only 20 or 30% of the
Right.
total
Okay.
market value that we will pay in cash, and we will own the property outright. That's one of the beauties of this market.
Right. Right. So let me just get this clear for everyone who's watching, right?
Yes.
What really is being said here, and I know it doesn't make sense, but what really is being said here is in the US, how we buy properties is actually we just pay 25% of the market value. Let's take an example, $200,000 property, right? So 25% would be what would that be? Uh, okay, my mind suddenly just not working. The
25% of
25% of
200,000
200,000 is
is $50,000.
okay, $50,000. Okay, so which means in the US, what we are saying is for a $200,000 property, we need to pay only $50,000, and that's it, right?
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
potentially.
know where to go and if you know how to do it. So we've done a lot of those acquisitions on tax auction, but we also have been acquiring properties directly from wholesalers. And when we do that, we can
Right.
pay we can get a substantial discount to the market value.
Okay, I think this was the point which was so amazing for me. I think 2 years ago, I remember quite vividly. It was in April of 2018. So
Mm-hmm.
April, yeah, slightly more than 2 years, and
Yeah.
that's when I actually met the founder of Noble Sky,
Mm-hmm.
Ralph, and he explained to me over coffee, right? He's just drawing out this same chart that we're looking at here right now. I was thinking like, my God, this doesn't make sense, but I am super interested because we spoke about affordability earlier, right? So as someone who's working middle income, limited savings, I have the same desires. I want to get into investing in properties, but I don't have as much cash as $1 million, like in the example that you showed. In fact,
Yes.
true in even in Singapore's context, if you were to look at any private property, being a condo minimally, we are looking
Mm-hmm.
at a million and above Sing dollars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so when Ralph showed me 25%, 20%, or even 30% of the market value, I was like just blown away. I was thinking, I gotta find out more how this works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and yeah, I of course that was history. Since then, I've never looked at property investing the same way again. Really, it's
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's quite interesting. In fact, we have a question here about. I think it's Mr. Yosef that asked,
Yeah.
"What can you buy
So
with
what
1 million
can you
in
buy?
Hong Kong, $1 million US?" The answer to that question is not much. I actually, because I was curious and I used to live in Discovery Bay, right? So I actually went and checked out some of the sites, the property sites, and yeah, $1 million still doesn't get you very much. Maybe 500 square feet in some remote areas, nowhere very close to the to town or anything like that.
Wow.
500 square feet is
Wow.
not very big at all. And this is the other
Wow.
thing with those houses in the US is what was surprising to me was you could literally buy a 3 bedroom, 2 bathrooms for 200,000.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then that's the value of it, but you can also get a substantial discount to it and pay maybe 50 or 40 depending on where you're getting it,
Yep.
and then you might have to do some rehab, but you can end up with substantial profits to it.
I agree. And again, when I saw the property listings in the US and some of these wholesaling sites and then the government auctions, I was like, man, crazy. It's like some of these properties 200,000, and the bids were starting at like 7,000 USD, 8,000, below. It's like below 10,000. It's
Yes.
just crazy.
Yes. Yeah, well, maybe not in California, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't invest in California. It's just ridiculously expensive anyway. So
Mhm. Yeah, well, the US is huge. I think in our line of work, we have discovered so many areas, so many great potential areas of great potential in terms
yeah.
of being able to buy into properties that where you not only pay with a substantial discount, like what we're seeing here, it also comes in. These properties are actually great properties in great locations as well. Not
Hmm.
necessarily, like some place unknown. It's just that because they may not be in places like you mentioned California or San Francisco, or where it's really just so, how should I say, overrated maybe to some extent.
Over expensive.
Over expensive, yeah. But everywhere else, it can actually be very affordable, and in fact, more importantly, the potential for profits is there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
And
Very nice.
I was really surprised at, for instance, the number of $200,000 and under properties in Florida.
Yeah,
Right. I
there's
mean, people think of Florida as being a very wealthy area, and of course, there's more wealthy and less wealthy areas as well. But yes, it's quite a, that's one of the attractions for this market as well.
very nice. Okay,
So
next point.
the next point, actually,
Yeah.
the next point is going to be much shorter, but it is really easy for a foreigner to buy a property in the US.
Please enlighten us.
Yeah, it sounds surprising, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds surprising, and we do not have, as long as you can send the money, there is no restriction. So, for instance, for landed property, right, we have areas where it's not possible for foreigners to own land. I don't know about you. It's the same thing in Singapore, for that matter. I know that as a foreigner, I cannot hold land in Singapore. I cannot buy land here in Bali either, right? Or in Hong Kong, it was always apartment. I never really looked into it. But I think pretty much everywhere, land is restricted to locals, which is understandable. For the US, absolutely not. No problem. As long as you have the money to pay for it, and probably you're not North Korean, you can buy a property. You can buy a property anywhere in the US. You find a seller, a willing seller, you have the money, they're happy with it.
Yeah.
And it can be done really quickly. That's the other thing.
Okay, so it's easy, it's quick. Maybe you can let us know a little bit more. Yeah. So how does it work really?
Well, in the case of us buying a property, for instance, from the tax auction, we bid on the property, we win, we have 24 hours to pay for it, and then it's ours. And the government gives us the title to the house, so it's also quite guaranteed in that case.
Yeah, I've seen one of those. I mean, I've been part of the company, and I've seen how we've participated in this one, and it was also interesting when we were down in last year together during the learning journey. We were there live during one of the auctions, and I thought it was just so amazing how there were so many people in the room. Then COVID wasn't there yet, so there were like, I think, 500 people in in the exhibition hall, broken up into, I think, 8 sectors, and each sector was running its own auctions based on a list of properties. And it was really interesting because you can see that the room was filled not just with white people or Native Americans, basically, not local people. You can see people from all over the world. You can hear the accents and all. You can tell that they were not just locals, right? So these people, some of them maybe have flown in just to participate, or some of them maybe, I don't know, they were just there on a tour or something. But basically nobody does a check on you to stop you, to tell you that you cannot participate despite your nationality, right? So we came in as Singaporeans, and that time we had Vietnamese, one of our investors, right, clients. We also had Indonesians, a Malaysian, and we were Singaporean as well. So we were all in there participating in this auction, and nobody was stopping any one of us, right? And the same rules apply to all of us. So it was just amazing. It was an amazing experience here.
Yeah. I think a lot of the great things about the US is the right to free enterprise.
Yeah.
Right. So that's for sure. It is in general, the US is wanting investments, right? So they make it easy.
Yeah. Very easy, very good. And of course, that doesn't mean it's they're not well regulated, or anybody can just come in and sabotage. It's in fact, it's a very well established process. And yeah, I saw how it was run very, very well. In fact, it was run by the sheriff's department, right? So it was
There you go.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes, and what you say is interesting, but it also depends on the state that you and the counties that you go to for the auctions. Some auctions are run completely online. Some auctions are only
Yes.
physical. Some counties have no auctions. So it really depends. This is where it's important to go with the people that know what they're doing.
You got that right, and I think because sorry to cut you in, because I just wanted to add in that some of the properties, I realized that now that you mentioned this, I think we've done a bit of wholesaling recently, putting up some of the properties that we've got in our portfolio to wholesalers, and it was as easy as just putting it up on a listing online, and these buyers actually bought from us just mainly through online transactions. I mean, there weren't any real one face-to-face meetups, right? Obviously. Yeah. And
well, we can't really go either, can we?
Yeah. And transactions are made that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I have several friends that are in real estate in the US, and they always say to me, it's really simple. You need to, if you agree on a house, you can give me a call, wire the money, it's done.
Yeah. Okay, you're actually tempting me. You're tempting me right now to actually go in tonight and just
I'm sure my friend Patrick will be happy to help you with Florida.
Oh yes, yeah. I remember the session with him.
Yes,
Patrick was really nice. I think he gave us real insights. I think about Florida being really, really hot, a hot market now. People is really in demand right now, and in fact, there's a shortage, right? Shortage of properties in the market for sale.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And we got the same information from my Californian friend, because basically withdrew their houses from the market because they were not sure about the future. They didn't want people to come and visit, and in general, they already had a shortage because there's not been as many construction starts last year and a few years before. But on average, there's 6 million transactions in the US every year.
Wow. Okay.
That's
and even
a
then,
lot
there
of
is
people.
still a shortage.
And there's still a shortage, yeah. So I'm gonna guess that there's gonna be less demand in a few months, but there's also less offer.
Right.
So at the moment, with cash is king.
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So now it sounds like a good time to actually, either you're in the market to be selling a property if you already own them, or maybe to be a landlord, right? Renting out your property.
Yeah. Being a landlord sounds like a good time as well. There might be people that would have liked to buy in the past, but were not able to. So yes, absolutely. There's a lot of opportunities if you have the cash to take them.
Great. All right, take us to the next point.
The next one, we mentioned that a little bit, but it's actually land ownership. It's the fact that as a foreigner, we are allowed to own the land. If you want to buy a huge ranch in Texas, as a Singaporean, you can.
Yeah.
Right. But
my kids.
If I want to buy the rice field just out my window, not possible.
Not possible.
No.
In Bali.
Yes. I wish though, but no, it's not possible, right? And the other thing about the land ownership in the US that really interested me when I looked into it is the fact that you don't just own the land and whatever is, like the grass. You own under and above.
Right.
So in Texas, these days it's a little bit different, but in Texas, you had a lot of people that became millionaires when oil started to be found in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Because
because they're the landowners.
Exactly. They owned a piece of land and the oil was underneath. Mineral rights.
Okay.
Right? If you buy a piece of land at the moment, we bought a fairly big one up in Michigan, I believe, and we were gonna redevelop part of it. And there was some woods. There were some really nice woods, good quality wood that we were actually going to harvest on it. That
Right.
belongs to us too, right? So
Mm.
everything that the land actually belongs to the owners. So that to me was an interesting thing. It's like, you know,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like everyone's dream, right? To be owning land. It's just this maybe I don't know our affinity towards land is something that we step on every day, right? So it's
yeah,
and to be able to own that plot, like to call it your own, I think it's just a really an amazing feeling. And but
hmm
sad to say, even for myself as a Singaporean in Singapore, being able to own land, I think that it's just a faraway dream because it's just going to be so expensive that it doesn't make sense. So most
yeah,
people in Singapore don't own land, don't even dream of owning land in Singapore.
yes,
Uh,
yeah,
what yeah, it's just we don't even talk about land. Even private properties in general are out of reach for most
hmm
Singaporeans. So
hmm
the idea that you can actually own land in the US in such an easy manner, how we've discussed this just before, the points before, and because I was just about to say just now, my kids have been watching Netflix, and one of the shows they're watching right now is called Pony Sitters Club. So it's actually
okay,
based on a ranch in the US. I'm not sure exactly which state or which county, but it's like really just so beautiful, and they have the ponies and the animals running around. And so my kids are telling me, it's like, yeah, I want to go and live in this kind of place. Where in the backyard you have the ranch, you have the meadows, you have like everything, the whole space,
mm,
and I know that there's not a place like that I can offer them in Singapore.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Sounds like you need to take them to Oregon, to
Really? Oh yeah, Laura's
Laura and
place.
John's ranch.
Yeah,
But you have to be
waiting
careful
for.
because when Ralph's kids went there, they didn't want to leave.
Oh, they didn't want to go back.
Now they preferred this to Disneyland. They thought this was much cooler than Disneyland.
Right, very nice.
But they
Yeah, yeah.
thought it's a
I
good
saw some of
time.
those pictures of Ralph's kids, and I could tell just how much fun they had. And
hmm
yeah, I think like because like right now, I mean, I'm don't get me wrong, I love Singapore as a country. It's beautiful. It's got lots of things that a lot of other countries don't have. The security, the peace. Everyone's doing great here. But of course, here tonight we're talking about uh, property ownership for
Yeah,
investments, right? So in that context, Singapore, is limited because of its space, and which is why
yeah,
everything becomes so expensive. I think it's very similar to Hong Kong as well. Um,
yes,
but I think Hong Kong still has some places like some mountainous areas. You can still go hiking, still
yes.
see
They
some
have
beautiful
state
sceneries.
parks. Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely have state parks, and they do maintain those, which is nice in terms of a natural reserve and everything. And normally, you're not supposed to build in it. Let's just say
Uh,
normally, and let's leave it at that.
okay, I
But
get
yes,
it.
there's actually it surprises a lot of people when they come to Hong Kong, and I lived there for over 20 years. How green it is, and
Yeah.
how much jungle there is, even above Central.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So that's Singapore is pretty green actually. We've got pockets of really green spaces, and kudos to the government for that, for having all of this
hmm
part of
Yeah.
planning. But again, I think it's still we're constrained by space, and
Yeah.
yeah, we most of us don't have our own private backyard. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
So I think we're just about at the end. So let me just
Hmm.
scroll to our last slide. Oops. Sorry.
Okay.
So
What do
in
we have here?
case, yeah, there we go.
Hmm.
Is that straight now?
Yes, it is.
Sorry,
It is.
this has been a. So this here, if you want to know more and if you want to discuss investing in U.S. real estate with Noble Sky, you can use this link right here, bit.ly, .ly, sorry, book NSI to actually book a meeting with one of our consultants, or me,
Very
or
nice.
Fahan. And
Yeah.
these are all the other details for us. So. Did you want to
Yeah,
add
yeah.
something, Fahan?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I took this first step, right? Meeting up with somebody, which is in that case, I met up with Rauf then 2 years ago, and he was, of course, the founder of Noble Sky International, and that step really was the game changer for me, because that allowed me to really gain access into this information. Like these 3 points which we have shared earlier, we have discussed earlier, are only 3 out of so many other advantages of actually investing in the US. And
Yes.
Really, if you are actually in the market, or if you've been considering, you've been like thinking about, okay, you've got some money in the savings, for example, and you're deciding that, okay, I want to get into investing my money, putting it somewhere where it can grow safely. It can actually give you great positive returns. Hello there.
Sorry, hold on. I'm
No,
being
it's fine. It's
attacked
fine.
by a feline.
Oh. Yeah. Then 2 years ago, really, that was me. I was actually in the market. I was looking for options to invest, and I knew real estate was something that everybody wants to be involved in, because of obvious advantages in being in real estate. But I had the typical mindset thinking that it's all about appreciation, and then maybe getting some rentals to offset my mortgages. I've never really understood this opportunity, and when I got down, having that coffee session with Ralph, and I realized, like, oh my God, what have I been missing all this while? And exactly in terms of investing, right? Time is never on your side. You can never have enough time, right? So the earlier you start, the better. And if like that's what you've been wanting to do, that's what you've been thinking about, wanting to invest, especially in real estate, take a look at the US. And yeah, it's really just an amazing idea, concept, and it's been around it's not even something that we invented on our own. It's been around, I think, for the past 200 years. Real estate was one of the backbones of how the US actually grew into this massive superpower, right? Its local economy funded through real estate. Yeah, so it was really amazing. And for those of you who are like tuning in and really want to consider real estate as your investment option, just click on that. I don't think you can click it, but
no, I don't
just
think you can click. But actually, you can click, because Fraser just posted the link
in the comments
already.
Okay, nice.
So it's in the comments. Fraser. So it's all good. Thank you, Fraser. So you can click. And yes, now is, I know people think, oh, we need to wait for the market to crash or something like that. Truth is, we don't know what's going to happen, but timing the market never works. And at the same time, the longer you wait, the bigger the opportunity cost of not doing it. So
right, yeah, that's a really great message for all of us. And again, I thank you so much, Veronique, for sharing this ideas, these points with us. I think it's been really insightful, and really at my end, I feel that this opportunity has always been there and will continue to be there. It's just a matter of whether you want to actually take advantage, you want to get involved, and benefit from it yourself, right? It won't go away. It's still going to be there. It's just whether you want to get it in there as well. So
and right now,
now would be a good time. Really. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna leave here. I do not have anything else to add, because I think Veronique has done a really wonderful job with sharing reasons why the US is a better option for most of us in terms of real estate. Before we end, anything else that Veronique you want to add before we end?
No, it's Friday night. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and just now is always better than later. That's all I have to say about this. So if you tuned in on a Friday night, or later if you're watching this replay, get in touch with us. Look at what your options are, because it's really worth it.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Veronique. Again, thank you everyone who's watching in. Whether you're watching this live or in the replays, we will be around to take in your questions. You can just drop in a comment or any questions that you may have, and we'll be happy to give you all the information that you need. All right. So here we go. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.